Welcome to the pod. You are listening to What the Reality with me, Cache Roberts. We are back. The video is back. We just had a little hiccup, but we are back. I'm recording like a day earlier than what I normally would because all my notes are done. This is the part 2 of What's the Reality on What the Reality of Candiace Dillard and Monique Samuels. I don't know if she's still going by Samuels. Monique Samuels friendship fallout. And I've just realized I learned so much during this deep dive, and I really appreciate it because it's really not linear. It's not black and white. It's very gray. I found myself on both of these ladies' sides throughout my part 1 and my part 2. Obviously, part 1, we covered the infamous Amistad comment, which really set it off. But I also said there was this willingness to really be accepted in the group from Monique. And I think she kind of used Candiace as I don't know why I want to say pigeon holder. Like, is that a thing? She kind of used Candiace, though, as this holder, this bestie, until she could get in with the Green-Eyed Bandits. I do 110% believe that. And then we also talked a lot about like Ashley and Gizelle interfering a lot into their friendship. And I just think they let a lot of outside sources really affect them. And yeah, but the Amistad, the hoedown, showdown, the drag you pregnant and all, like we talked about that. We talked about season 5 reunion, obviously where I had last left off. They had kissed and made up, that was the season 4 reunion. They had kissed and made up. There was a reconciliation at the beginning of season 5, which we're talking about in this part 2, the season 5 in total. I really dissected it. I literally watched the whole season, with exception to a couple episodes once everything happens, because Monique is really not in it. And I kind of know what happens after that. But I really watched like the first 10 episodes, the build up to the epic episode 7. And yeah, I really took a lot away from it. It's not as easy as Kenya Moore and Portia Williams. It's not as easy at all. And I talk about that and make the comparison. So let's get right into part 2, because part 2 is going to be longer than an hour, I think, because there's just so much minutia and stuff to really get into. Pardon if you hear the wind. It is so windy right now. But yeah, I just wanted to record while these notes were still fresh, and I'm excited to get into it. So part 2 is really going to cover the Charisse of it all. Charisse is kind of the main factor that kind of sets a lot of stuff off in their friendship this season, the epic season 5. And then we are going to talk about some rumors and nastiness that was going around Monique's marriage, which also was the catalyst to this friendship breakup. Also going to talk about Gizelle and Ashley again, because Gizelle and Ashley instigated a lot. They were just instigating a whole bunch. And I will say it again, I think they let Gizelle and Ashley get in between their friendship a lot. And a lot of stuff could have been avoided. I also talk about the tensions leading up to the epic night, the aftermath, and I'm going to talk about season 5 reunion, and we're going to tie it up in a nice bow. And I need help picking my next topic. I'm going to make a TikTok for like help and assistance, because I don't know what my next topic is going to be. But let's dive right into it. Okay, so obviously season 5, we're setting the stage. Like I said, season 4, they had that infamous like drag me Monique, she said I'll drag you pregnant and all. She did not drag her. However, she did foreshadow dragging her. Like, I just have to throw that in there. So we got that. And then, like I said, season 4 reunion, they decided to really hug, make up, like, you know what I mean? They agreed. They were very like sister-like. They're like, you know what? This too shall pass. And we really all thought it would, but it was really a band-aid to their real emotions. I feel like they weren't really over it. At least Monique was not over it. Or Candiace, because I just feel like they just never were able to really make it. So season 5, like literally in episode 1, like it already becomes clear where the alliances are. Like Candiace, like I said last season, she really was in a bad space because she did the whole knife thing with Ashley. She was very angry that season because of some stuff that was going on with her mom. And, you know, she was freshly married. And I just think Candiace was very misunderstood that season because of all the mother childhood trauma she had and ongoing trauma. I wonder if Candiace is like still like really cool with her mom or not. We just know her mom was a catalyst to a lot of her broken relationships. And we already can tell like Candiace and Ashley are not on good terms. And of course, you know, like Ashley, I mean, of course, Candiace opts out of inviting her to her 1 year anniversary party. So that's kind of what we're opening with. Candiace is having a 1 year anniversary party, which we'll get into because she did not have a honeymoon. So let's clock that. Instead, they decided to do a 1 year anniversary party for being married, of course. And she did not end up inviting Ashley. At this point, Ashley and, you know, Monique are still pretty cool because Ashley just had her baby and, you know, Monique just had a baby because was Monique pregnant at the reunion? She wasn't pregnant, or yes, she was pregnant last season though. She wasn't pregnant at the reunion, but she was pregnant last season. So she's just had her baby, and then we know Ashley was pregnant at the last reunion. So they've really bonded, and then we also see Candiace on the outs with like majority of the group because, or at least with Gizelle. Her and Gizelle had got into it. She was saying some stuff on social media with Gizelle. So Candiace is really close with Karen. She's cool with Robin, of course, and then she's cool with Monique. And yeah, we kind of see her and Gizelle kind of go through some stuff as well. Anyway, so Monique explains where her and Candiace are within the first episode, and she like lets us know that they kissed and made up, and we're just gonna launch into the anniversary party because a notable presence that was at the infamous 1 year anniversary party was Charisse. And it's confusing because the last time we see Charisse with Candiace, they are cussing each other out. You know, she's calling her a little girl. And Candiace is calling her a geriatric grandma. Candiace reads, that is my Mount Rushmore. Candiace Dillard-Bassett is definitely on my Mount Rushmore of housewives because her reads are lethal, clearly. But yeah, she called her a geriatric grandma. So we didn't know they were friends, right? Because Charisse isn't really on the show. However, let's not forget Charisse is the placeholder amongst this group. She has brought a lot of these women together. So we also notice that Monique and Charisse are not cool. Last we knew of like Charisse and Monique, they were filming together, they were fine. And I'm talking about that was just last season or the season before. Like they were fine. So we already see a switch of dynamics. And this is where it's going to bring us to the biggest like issue, which is the Charisse of it all. So Monique is clearly avoiding Charisse at this party. She did not know Charisse was even going to be at this party. Monique is probably thinking Charisse is somebody's plus one. She did not think at this point that Candiace had invited Charisse to her 1 year anniversary party. Monique says in her confessional that Charisse has been quote unquote behind the nasty rumors about her family. And when production asked her, they're like, well, can you clarify what these rumors are? And I guess the elephant in the room, at least at the anniversary party as well, is like everyone knows that there's some rumors going around and there's some nastiness going around and no one's really willing to speak on it. So yes, in a talking head, you know, Monique really declines to even speak about the rumors and the nastiness that were going on. She doesn't really even want to address it. So let's get into those alleged rumors. If you guys do not remember, because I forgot, but I knew this was a thing, but I forgot. So the alleged rumors, and I actually have an article I want to click on because this kind of digs more into it. So these were the alleged rumors. Charisse was allegedly spreading rumors that she had gotten from Monique's former friend, Gigi. Gigi actually filmed Monique with Monique for Monique's first season. This is her former best friend. So there was an affair rumor about Monique and her personal trainer that apparently the baby that she had. You know, she had Chase recently on this season, was the trainer's baby. And we also see that Charisse said in this Hollywood Life interview, and this was from August 17th. This was from August 2020. And keep in mind, this is also our pre-COVID season, because by the time we get to the reunion, it is COVID. So this is coming out as the season's coming out. So Charisse Jackson, this is with Hollywood Life, revealed who really started the rumors about Monique's Samuel's marriage. So apparently she said she had nothing to do with it. I'm looking for it. Okay, so this is what Hollywood Life said. It said rumors have been flying about Real Housewives of Potomac. So these rumors were flying around while filming was going on. Star Monique Samuel's marriage, and fellow castmate Charisse Jackson Jordan is denying she started them. Quote unquote, Monique's best friend started a rumor. Okay, I had nothing to do with the rumor. Charisse revealed on an episode of Hollywood Live's TV Talk. Quote unquote, the best friend told everybody from production to corporate to the cast. So who did I tell? And she knows that her friend was doing this, but what she thought was I was going to come on the show and use that as an end. So she said specifically, the gossip been swirling about Monique, who has been married to retired NFL star Chris Samuels, in her personal, since 2012, and it was dealing with her personal trainer. Monique has since denied any extramarital affair, pointing the finger at Charisse for facilitating the nasty rumors on Real Housewives of Potomac. Monique is clear on that. Charisse explained, once again denying she started the rumors, but admits to having talked about them. So that's the thing. She did talk about them, but it looks like Monique thought this was going to be brought up on the show. And she had reason to think this, because we're going to talk about the reunion, because you know how the girls get together before the reunion. So she thought Charisse was going to bring this up. I'm still confused why she would even think that if Charisse is your friend. As I thought, because you really consider Charisse as a big sister. They also use that term way too much in Potomac, like, oh, this is my big sister, this is my little sister. Also in Atlanta, I don't know, maybe it's a thing like on the black shows. They're like, oh, this is my little sis, my big sis. I'm like, I'm not using that word loosely. Like, you're a good friend or you're not a good friend. Anyway, so Charisse claimed in an article that she had nothing to do with those rumors and she was never going to bring on the show. But yes, that was discussed, because you know how Housewives is. If something is out there, you're going to discuss it. Now we're going to get back to season 5. So now we know why Monique is dodging Charisse at the party. I even think there was a scene where I think Monique's friend was like, do you need boxing gloves or something? And then she was like, no, I'm fine. I'm just going to ignore this girl. Like, he was like, do you need boxing gloves or something? So as viewers, obviously, if you're not like completely hooked in to the gossip and the blogs and stuff, as a viewer, you're watching this like, well, wait, what's going on with her and Charisse? But like I said, I still don't understand. I still cannot find anything as to how they even got to that point. Why would you even think your good friend Charisse would even bring these rumors up if you and Charisse are friends? I didn't understand that part. Anyway, let's move on. So Gizelle is the one that actually discloses the rumors and allegations, because Monique not giving nothing to production, even though Charisse is saying in this article, this former friend Gigi has been telling everyone from Bravo corporate, production, and the whole cast. So production knew, they wanted Monique to say it on camera. Monique did not want to. Gizelle instead does what she does and is messy. So Monique apparently, so now we're after the anniversary party. Monique and Gizelle are trying to get on good terms. You know, they have infamously not been the best of friends. Ever since You Don't Have a Home, I have several homes. How many do you have? Gizelle gets together with Monique. They have sit down, have lunch, yada, yada, yada. And Gizelle, like I said, she's not that cool with Candiace, so she's being a little messy. She's doing what Gizelle does. So she tells Monique that Candiace is the one that invited Charisse to her anniversary party, and she was not a +1. And Monique is honestly shocked by this, because she knows that Candiace knows about these damaging rumors. So she's like, I did not know that's what was happening. Like, she's like, I did not know it was actually Candiace, right? So the rumors have now caused a rift between Monique and her husband, which is something we kind of see play out. Like I said, even like the first part, I think I talked about like in season 4, like they have a very traditional marriage. I mean, she was 36 at the time, he's 43. He was like older than her, and not majorly older, like I guess socially acceptable. But you see someone like Monique and you see someone like Chris Samuels. I mean, he looks good now. He did the whole Gunna transformation. But you see someone like Monique with someone like Chris Samuels, and then you get the backstory of the mom not liking Monique. It's kind of giving like, yeah, it does give Go Digger. Like, there's no way. You know what I mean? So we get that traditional marriage. We already get the added layers of like, oh, you just with him for his money. And now we have an added layer of cheating going on. And this is where Gizelle talks about the rumors in her confessional. And she even refers to Chris as Big Boy, which Monique ended up having a huge problem with that at the reunion. Season 5 COVID reunions, the COVID reunions, all of them except for Roni, which was honestly Roni's literally, what is it, failure or downfall, which is so unfortunate, was their COVID reunion. Because I say the Atlanta COVID reunion, the virtual one, was so good. And the Potomac one was really good. I even think the Beverly Hills one was really good. Like the COVID reunions were really good. This was a really good season for that reunion. And yeah, so that gets brought up at the reunion, the whole Big Boy thing. But Gizelle referred to Chris as Big Boy, and she referred to the trainer as Sweat Buddy, side piece, all that stuff. So she confirms the rumors about Monique and her trainer being too close and being caught out in public together. So there's a couple of rumors going around. There's a rumor that they've been out together, too close, in the public, caught together. And then there's a rumor that her most recent baby, is not Chris's, it's the personal trainer, and that they have been having an affair for a while. Those were the rumors that were going around. And Monique, I think now when you look at the reunion, I think she was very much aware that this could possibly be brought up, which is why when she saw Charisse at Candiace's party, she was like, oh, this is what we're doing. I think that's exactly what she was probably thinking. Okay. So then I actually found the guy's name. His name was allegedly Brandon Forrest. And I have Monique and Chris have recently separated. Well, I guess of like 2 years. But as soon as like their divorce was announced, she followed alleged trainer on Instagram. And that's why everybody linked his name finally. Like there were speculations about his name, but they finally linked his name as Brandon Forrest. So she had recently followed him on Instagram. And I don't know, I always thought Monique looked amazing. Like her arms were amazing. Like that's the type of arms I want. But is this was this stuff true? I don't think so. I think her baby looks just like Chris's. Like I didn't think any of that was true. Could I see her stepping out though? Now knowing what we knew about their marriage, she said she said like recently, or like in an interview, she was just miserable. Like they were going to therapy. They were supposed to write the pros and cons of the relationship. And she realized she was literally miserable in this relationship. Like it just wasn't a relationship for her. And I could definitely see her stepping out. I could see him stepping out. I could see any man stepping out, to be honest. But I could see her getting attention from her trainer. No shade, no tea. Obviously, the rumors were fake, though, and really damaged their family. Okay, so of course, Big Head Ashley, which I cannot. She also has tea to add, and she actually told Gizelle that Candiace was the one that went out of her way as soon as her and Monique fell out, that got super close with Charisse, and that's why she was invited to the party. Like, it's because we know that Candiace and Charisse were not that close at all. So all of a sudden, you and Monique aren't cool, you're getting close to Charisse. Now that I do believe. And then obviously that invitation was extended. But in Candiace's defense, which we are going to get into literally a couple more scenes, Candiace's defense was like, she talks to Monique like every single day, and she's never heard any honest tea or anything recent about Charisse. So she thought their beef was 2-year-old beef. Like I said, why was it 2-year-old beef? Because I still don't understand what initially sparked it and why you would think your friend would, bring this rumor to the show when I thought the last time y'all were cool, right? So yeah, so of course that gets back to Monique. So Ashley did not tell this to Gizelle. Ashley, I think, is the one that told Gizelle that Candiace invited her. But Ashley ends up telling Monique that Candiace went out of her way to, oh my gosh, went out of her way to, befriend Charisse at least. So now so Ashley is inside the house. She just had her baby. She's going through postpartum a version of it. She just doesn't want to leave her nest with her baby, with Dean. So Monique and Gizelle, that is what they bonded over, their love for Ashley. And they're like, let's get out of the house dinner together. And they invite all the ladies, Candiace included. We also get the introduction of Wendy, Dr. Wendy O. Cepho. Do we get her intro this season? Yes, I think we do. Yes, season 5 is Dr. Wendy's first season because we're on season 10 now and she's been on for 5 seasons. So we get her, and I forget that Candiace is the one that actually brings on Dr. Wendy. So we get her introduction. So Candiace has an ally this season for sure. Dr. Wendy is looking out for Candiace. They have a good, strong friendship, and they end up having a strong friendship alliance. Candiace has remained very open with the recent allegations of Dr. Wendy and supporting Black families and all this stuff, but I think it's more than that. I think it is more than that. But so she does have an ally. Wendy is also at this dinner. And, Candiace, like I said, Candiace and Ashley are not on the best of terms because the ladies still feel like Candiace owes Ashley an apology because when Ashley was giving birth, you can't make this stuff up. When Ashley was giving birth to Dean, Candiace was on Twitter cussing her out, all this stuff. So they still think Candiace needs to apologize to Ashley. And this is where we kind of see Karen step in and be like, who are you to like facilitate that apology? Like they both have things to apologize for. And we see Karen really play like that mama bear that, and Gizelle's the messy one that always has a favorite. So every time I'm noticing that Candiace is around these group of ladies, they are always jumping on her. And that's why I think she gets to her wits end a lot during this season. I think she performed really well this season because she's not taking the bait anymore. And she's like, okay, like, it's like she's always the bad guy. And I remember at this dinner scene, it was like so she caused Monique, which we find out, which we're going to talk about, like, is it safe for me to come to this dinner? She thought it was a safe space. She didn't want to come because, like her and Ashley have not spoken since the reunion, and she didn't invite her to her anniversary party. So she didn't want it to be any weird tension. This is supposed to be celebratory for Ashley. So Monique gave her the clearance. Yes, you will be fine. I'm not sure if Monique gave her that clearance before finding out that Candiace is the one that invited Charisse to the anniversary party or not. But there was some sort of clearance confirmed that, hey, if you come here, I got your back. You'll be fine. That was not what happened. This is what happened. So Monique essentially, after they're like, Ashley deserves an apology, Monique starts throwing shade at Candiace, and Candiace is honestly floored. Candiace is honestly, Monique addresses Candiace at this party about the whole Charisse stuff, and she's like, they were like, oh, how was the anniversary party? Like, how was it seeing everyone? And then Monique calls Charisse a walrus and a wart dog. And then Candiace claims she did not know their beef was that bad. And Monique looks at her and she's like, are you serious? Like, you definitely knew. And then Monique tells her, we'll talk later. And you could tell Candiace instantly received that. She was just kind of like, okay, like, what does that mean? She was not expecting that. And then Monique shades her about her 1-year anniversary party. And she was like, you should have used the money you spent on your anniversary party on a honeymoon. Because she's like, you still haven't went on a honeymoon and they've been married for a year. She's like, you should have used that money from the anniversary party to finally go on a honeymoon. It is bizarre to me that they never went on a honeymoon. I don't know if they ever did, but like, yeah, it was bizarre. It was like, you want to have this anniversary party for cameras. Like, what? So Candiace is also like, she thought this beef was 2-year-old stale beef in her confessional. Like, she did not know. So then Candiace apologizes to Monique in front of the ladies for inviting Charisse and not giving her a heads up. Because Monique's like, you should at least give me a heads up and been like, hey, friend, like, this person's coming. And so then we kind of see the shift. Like, it seems like a pile on, and I say that a lot. They piled on Candiace a lot. So now Candiace is like feeling a type of way, and she's essentially like, after leaving the dinner, she's just not feeling it. And even Wendy's like, girl, that is not your friend. Like, you thought that was your friend, that is not your friend. And you can just tell it was not received well from Monique. So they leave, and we get something off audio. We get something of audio. Cameras went down, and Candiace tells Monique they are not friends. Like, you can tell she's upset, and you can tell Monique's trying to smooth it over. And she says she said, you could have literally came to me and asked why that hoe was at my party. Like, why are you doing this in front of everyone? And then Candiace says in her talking head that Monique is not to be trusted, because she said last she had talked to Monique, they were fine, all this stuff. And then she gets in front of the group, and now all of a sudden it's, you're pressing me. And she's like, I called her, and she literally asked her if this was a safe space for me to come to, because she did not feel like getting ganged up on. And like I said, Monique confirmed, oh yeah, it's fine, you should come through, like everything's fine. So she calls her Two-Face in the confessional, and Monique says, we'll talk about this off camera. But like, we're seeing that off camera. Clearly things aren't that good. Next scene, we're going to get into Ashley's sip and see. So now Ashley is letting the people see Baby Dean, and Monique and Candiace, they haven't spoken since that dinner really, or they spoke off camera, but they're both not feeling each other. Candiace feels attacked and betrayed, and Monique honestly feels the same way. She's like, why would you invite this girl that you know I don't rock with and not give me a heads up? So they agree that they're not friends. Like, it's just very, like, there's some episodes have been on, and like I said, I cannot lie, like when I'm watching this sip and see, like Monique's very like cuddled up with Gizelle and Robin in them, and like that's why I said that's all Monique wanted, is to be accepted by Gizelle. Because if you're accepted by Gizelle in the group, you were fine, you were protected. I mean, that's how Robin was able to stay on the show for that long. So I just saw very mean girl behavior at the sip and see, especially when Candiace walks in. Candiace didn't have to go. Candiace went out of respect for Ashley, and she even brought her a gift. Like, she just wanted to kind of extend the olive branch. But when she gets there, it's very cold. It's very chivalry. Like, well, not chivalry. It's very chilly. Like, Gizelle don't even acknowledge her. Robin, they just acting very funny, and Monique's over there laughing. It's just very weird. It was very weird vibe. It was like, oh, I'm finally in with the cool girls. So Monique and Candiace actually start to get into it, and Candiace believes that because Monique and Gizelle are cool, that Monique needs someone else to fight with, because it's like she's trying to get into it at the sip and see, and she's like, and then they all like laugh or whatever. And then what I thought was shocking is like Ashley's the one, because Candiace leaves. She's like, I'm not doing this in her home. Which is respectable. Like I said, you could tell Candiace had a lot of, she had a lot of growth within the past season, because she's choosing to walk away from situations, and she just doesn't have the time or the energy for this stuff. So shockingly, Ashley is the one to really comfort Candiace. She leaves her apartment, and Ashley follows and goes checks on her, and they have a conversation. All of this stuff. So they don't leave off well. Candiace at this point is done with Monique, because she just feels like she is picking a fight with her. And I will say right there, she was. Keep in mind, at the sip and see, Charisse is there. And Gizelle tries to get Charisse and Monique to essentially acknowledge each other, and they do not. They do not at all. And even Monique is kind of like, Gizelle, leave it alone. Like, you can tell she's getting upset. They don't even acknowledge each other. So now we're fast forwarding to Monique's lake trip. I'm like, where are we at? Oh yeah, the fight's coming up, guys. The fight is coming up. Okay, so this lake trip was probably one of the most boring trips ever. Like, I really tried to stay engaged, besides learning that Karen does have a fireball problem. And this is where we learn about Michael allegedly cheating on Ashley again, which honestly ends up being true. Season 5 of Potomac, a lot was going on, because you always got Michael Darby in the back doing something. So Candiace is not really in with the group. She's at Monique's lake house. They really haven't spoken. You know, it's very hard, and every time she gets with the group, they're like, well, why don't you apologize for this, apologize for that, apologize for your mouth, apologize for your social media. They always are trying to have her be held accountable, but luckily, like I said, her ally is there, Wendy, and then also Karen is there, who's very neutral. Robin's pretty chill with her, but Gizelle and Monique are pretty like icy and just not nice people. So Candiace receives a text message from a friend about Michael Darby, and it's about him being caught at the strip club, and she addresses it with Ashley directly with Gizelle. And I think this was a smart move on Candiace. She's like, how can I get back in with this group? I got this boiling hot tea. Let me go directly to the source, Ashley. And you can tell, like I said, Candiace has come a long way, because I feel like old Candiace would have addressed this at the table. Instead, her and Ashley just agreed to move on and really make an effort at being friends, because Ashley is the one that brought on Candiace, you guys. Like, let's not forget, they actually did have a friendship. Was it shady? Yes. But they did have a friendship at one point. So they're trying to get back to that. And she's like, let me loop in Gizelle, because Gizelle is the anchor, one of the anchors of the show. I always say her and Karen are. Giselle's doing a really good job anchoring this current season. I digress. So the issue that becomes of the text message is that Monique wanted the girls to be on her schedule, but the schedule was pretty boring. The schedule was pretty boring. So she's like, let's do a fire, let's get the fire started, all of that stuff. And at this point, Candiace decides to take Ashley and Gizelle to side, and they're like waiting for the kitchen to clear out because they don't want this to be a big thing, which is very respectable. It's very like cautious, like of your surroundings. And Monique doesn't like that. She feels like Candiace is trying to have her own ponderosa on her time. And she's like, it's camp time. We're supposed to be roasting marshmallows and getting along and kumbayaing and smoking cigars. So okay, I'm like, my Wi-Fi just glitched real quick. So Monique finds an issue with the ladies meeting in her sitting room and not coming down to the fire. She thought it was very disrespectful. Keep in mind though, like I said, Monique and Candiace were just fine the night before because they were having fireball shots with Karen, and they were literally fine, Karen and Wendy. So Monique also brings up that people should just leave people's marriages alone. So this is the next day after they tell Ashley about the text. There is a smoking picture. It's basically like Tom and Luann all over again. There's a picture. So the next day, so then they go to bed, and then Candiace, Wendy, Karen, and Monique are just smoking cigars, having a good time. Like, you would think she moved on from it. And Candiace also apologized, like, hey, like, it was just something I wanted to pull Ashley to side for. It was handled. So the next day, Monique is still in a mood, and she's like, why don't we just leave people's marriages alone? And it seemed to really trigger her because obviously she knows that there's this rumor going around, which honestly, you just brought more attention to yourself. Like, no one's talking about you. She's like, I don't know. Because they were like, why were you? Because Monique was like, why are you trying to concoct something on my time in my house? It's disrespectful. Candiace apologizes, and she's like, I had to address something with Ashley and it was not for the table. And she's like, I'm sorry if you feel like we were divvying into your time and your plant time, like whatever. But if I was Candiace, I would be genuinely shocked, because I'm like, girl, we just had a good time last night on that fireball. Also, Karen at that night was trying to get them together, but they were just trying to have a good time, a good kiki. Like, they weren't trying to think about it too much. Like, so now it's like, Monique, you're in front of people, and now you have an issue when it's like, we already talked about this, and then we had a good time last night. Like, can you just let us be surface right now, right? She couldn't let that be. So like I said, I thought Candiace handled it in a very proper way. Monique is very upset about this. She brings it up again in front of Robin and Dr. Wendy, and they're like, why are you so, like, it just seems like Candiace can do no right. Candiace ends up walking away once this gets brought up again, because Monique's like, it's disrespectful. It's like, girl, I get it. I apologize. She apologized twice now for pulling Ashley and Gizelle to the side to have this side conversation. She's apologized twice now, and Monique is not letting it go. We get to the end of the trip. Like I said, Monique brought it up again, and it's hostile. So now the men are there. They are playing some games or whatever. They're chilling, and now it's time to leave the lake house. And Candiace is leaving, and it's just so funny because just a second ago, Monique was up for Ashley's departure and Robert's departure. Candiace is leaving, and all of a sudden Monique is asleep. And this is very important because this is something that also fuels their fight that is soon to come. So she is sleeping, and Candiace goes like, bye, right? She's like, thank you, because it's like not you pretending to sleep. And it was giving you're pretending to sleep. And then, like I said, I also want to point out, I don't know. I mean, I do know there was some tension between Chris and Monique when Chris come. When Chris come, he's very like big dog. I better be respected. He was telling a story. They were just chilling, waiting for people to leave, and he was talking. And then she had yawned, and he was like, "You better not yawn while I'm talking." It was very like a lot. Keep in mind, they were literally just doing a couples challenge where it's like the guys had to act out their wives. So Candiace's Chris, he decides to do the night like two-phase, basically, how Candiace is, or like she flips with a switch, like, you know what I mean? So it's like one moment you get like the pageant, like hi, and he said, oh, like he's like, where's the switch at for like the cameras? I mean, for the lights. He turns the lights off, like the light switch, and then he comes in like swinging the knife. He's like, get out of my house, get out of my house. So everyone was laughing at that, and then Monique's Chris decides to give an example of Monique performing oral, like with a big Heinen's bottle. He's like, oh, this Monique. And then he like turned, and it's just wild. And it's like, out of all things, that's what you have to show as an example of your wife in front of this group of people. It was kind of crazy. So it's like, you get this one man showing how his wife is very, she flips at a switch. Then you have this other in contrast of this man, subtracting his wife just to oral and to pleasing him. And that's the vibe I really get in their relationship, is like what he says goes, or like he shuts her down a lot. He's very dismissive. I mean, he's not the worst house husband we've seen, but we saw that dynamic too a couple times. Like I said, there's just tension. Like, I was shocked when she was yawning, and then he was just like, you better not yawn while I'm talking. Like, it was giving dictatorship. I was like, ooh, like, not him saying don't yawn while I'm talking. It was kind of weird. Let's get into the start of the fight. Couple episodes passed, so now Gizelle actually departed early. So this is literally, I think, the next episode. Departed the lake house early because she was actually being what is it called? I'm having so many brain farts. I need to do some crossword puzzles. She was being formally acknowledged, or like awarded for her book about the whole affair with Jamal, and like being the first lady and the experiences that came with that, which is so ironic because at the time they were giving their relationship a go again. I put that in air quotes because we all know they were not in a serious relationship. And that's when we get the binder of it all. Oh, masterpiece. Season 5 was really a masterpiece. There was so many storylines going on. We also had Karen and Ray. Ray was not feeling Karen because he like, you too busy, you too bossed up. And then we had Robin and her IRS tax problems. She didn't file something wrong. And then we had Darby, and then we had Candiace and Monique. Everybody was involved some way, right? Everyone was involved. So Gizelle had to leave the trip early to go down. I don't know where she went down to, but she was being awarded. She actually had won, so she had to leave early. So when she was coming back and she won, she wanted to be a celebration. They go to a winery. I can't remember the name of the rivalry, but this brings us to episode 8, which is actually called Serving Up Betrayals. So everyone is getting ready to go to this winery. They show up. The energy, I mean, it's a winery. You're drinking. It's like fine. Like Monique and Candiace, I don't remember if they hug or not, but there's definitely tension there. Gizelle does what Gizelle does best. But before that, I have to talk about what really broke the straw on the camera's back. This is why we take notes, because I almost forgot this piece of information. So Monique has a podcast not for Lazy Moms. I'm not sure where that is now. And that's what really broke the camel's back. So not for Lazy Moms, her wellness brand for moms is starting a podcast, and essentially all of the couples were going to be featured on an episode, and it was really used as like a premiere, like to really drive sales, all this stuff. And you know, during all this stuff that was happening, at one point her and Candiace were really cool, so it was going to be couples in different points of their stages on the show. So it was like Karen and Ray, they have this huge age gap. This is where they are in their relationship. And then she wanted a perspective of newlyweds who haven't even been on a honeymoon, which was going to be, you know, Candiace and Chris's. And keep in mind, the Chris's are really cool. So after the lake house and them arguing a couple of times, Candiace decides that she does not really want to be a part of the podcast, and she literally opts out last minute, which honestly ends up upsetting Monique. And she thinks that's unprofessional. She's like, she calls Candiace very, you know, selfish, because she's like, you're not really thinking about how this affects everyone. Like, she had all these flyers printed off, you know, and I honestly think she overspent for this podcast. Like, she spent like $200K to get this whole production up and running. She had like merch and stuff, flyers. She was paying for way too much, and this was Chris's money. But I just feel like she used way too much in the production phase before this stuff even saw longevity. So she was upset. But if you were Candiace, me and you just did not have a good trip. You didn't say bye to me. I'm not about to be a part of your podcast. For what? You don't like me. We don't like each other. I'm not about to sit here and fake. So she cancels. So that is really the catalyst to what's really about to start at this winery. So Candiace and Monique's argument really starts from Gizelle, of course, being messy, doing what Gizelle does. And, you know, she's like, are y'all good? Because she heard they were not good, because of course Robin phoned her in. She's like, this is what you miss, yada, yada, yada. And, you know, Candiace says how she loves everyone. She's raising a glass. Candiace is a little lit, you know what I mean? She's drinking that wine. Candiace then makes a dig at the cancellation of the podcast. She's like, you know, she says something, cancellations happen and live cancellations, and Monique catches that. And she says she's meeting Candiace like exactly where she's at, all of this stuff. And the ladies note that this place is a bad place. They want them to really work out their issues, but it's like, they're not going to work them out. Like, this is a bad place that they are in. So Candiace makes a toast, and she says how she loves Monique, you know, even when Monique pretends to be sleeping. And we get that from when she was trying to leave. So that rubbed Candiace the wrong way, and hence why she also canceled the pod. She just wasn't feeling good about her. She's like, I love Monique even though she pretends to be sleeping. Monique catches that shade, and she was like, nobody has to pretend to sleep, like I'm a mom. And then it turns into this whole, oh, so your mom shaming me? And then she's like, well, how am I mom shaming you if you don't even have any kids? Like, you wouldn't understand. I was actually sleepy. I don't think she was actually asleep. I think she was pretending to be asleep. And even Chris says something. He's like, oh, like Monique's knocked out. And he's like, you know, y'all aren't in a good place. So it's like, I don't think she was asleep, because you were just up saying bye to Ashley and Robin. Like, were you really asleep? I don't think so. So yeah, this rubs Monique the wrong way, and like, she brings up the mother pretending to be asleep, and then Monique then calls the friendship a facade, and how Candiace was profiting more out of their friendship than she was, and it was not a reciprocal relationship. They're starting to yell. At the time, Candiace is on her Anne Hathaway Princess Diaries, I said, banging the knife against the glass, like trying to make an announcement, and then Wendy snatches the glass. You can tell Candiace is a little lit. And you can tell the ladies are a little lit. Like, you can tell producers are probably like, okay, guys, loosen up, have some wine, and then we'll start filming. So I think it's definitely giving that. And then we see Wendy snatch the knife from her, because Candiace is making a speech about something, and then Wendy's like, give me that knife. She's like, we are not about to do this. Like, we are not about to do this. And then we have the epic fight, which I might play here, especially for YouTube. You guys know the epic fight. We get the epic fight. Cue the fight.
Hands in my face.
You put your, you gonna drag me? You gonna drag me too? Do you want me to? Do you want me to? Drag me. Do you want me to? Do you want me to? Do you want me to? Hey! 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 Get off of me. Let her go. Get off of me. Get off of me. Get off of me. Don't let her go. Let go, Monique. Get off of me. Let her go. Monique, let her go. Let her go. Monique, stop. Get off of me. Get off, baby. No. Stop.
Stop it.
Get off of me.
Stop it.
Stupid bitch. Talk all that mess.
Stop it.
Stop! Get the hood rat ass bitch out of here. What happened? The whole building is shaking. What the just happened? Is my wig on? Yeah, you're on. The hood rat came out. Okay. Where's Monique?
She asked for it. You keep talking. You literally want somebody to hit you, so that's what happened. Was it wine on my face?
Ooh, his mouth is bleeding.
Yeah, did she hit me in the face with a glass?
Let me get an emergency kit.
Just come over here for a minute. Just come over.
I'm fine.
I know, away from the camera, girl. I got your wig, damn it.
You gonna drag me? Now you baiting me? So you want me to? So I'm like, get your hand out my face. I start flicking her hair.
Yeah.
And then honestly, I don't even know what happened after that.
She obviously was very upset.
It wasn't the right time to push this conversation.
She got a problem.
Let's not throw her under the bus.
I'm not throwing
Look,
her under
they
the bus.
egged each other on. I'm going to check on my friend.
Excuse me. Excuse me. Excuse me.
Who's opening this door?
It's Karen. Open the door. I need to check on Monique. Open the door.
I'm right here. He won't let me out.
Where's she at? Cause you're a ghetto ass, hood ass bitch.
Get her hat.
And you know how to f***ing act.
Move, James. Seriously?
I can't.
James?
No, please don't do this.
I'm gonna beat her ass. That's what I'm gonna do. She's been asking for it since last year.
Let's get you out the door.
This is not what we do. We don't do this.
We don't do this.
I'm gonna get around you.
Who's walking Candiace out?
I'm sorry. I'm very sorry. I'm fine. I'm very sorry. This is some ghetto ass. Why am I being rushed away? I'm fine.
I need to make sure that you are away in a car. Please, baby. It's about safety. Please. Just get in the car, please.
Is that Monique running?
Get off of me. Get off of me. Get off of me. Oh, stop! Stop!
I'm not even going out there. This is not my fight.
This definitely ain't worth the fight.
Monique, come on, Monique! Get off of me.
Stop.
Get off of me. Then get off of me then. Get off of me then. She gotta stop. Where's my purse?
Monique, you're bleeding.
Y'all better not bring her around me. I'm a killer.
Let's go. Let's go.
Candiace literally starts to, so I'm breaking down the fight now. So Candiace starts twirling, and like I said, I thought she was lit at that point. And then Monique's like, yeah, twirl on, because they're arguing. The ladies bring up the Charisse rumors and stuff, and Candiace like how you're still not over that, all this stuff. And then Candiace tells her good night repeatedly, and she's like making a hand gesture. She's like, good night. And then this is after Monique tells her like twirl on, like her hand is in her face as well, like in her vicinity. And then Candiace is like, good night. And then Monique's like, get your hand out of my face. And tensions are rising. Both of their hands are in each other's face. Monique tells Candiace to get her hands out of her finger, and Candiace says, you put your hand to my face first. And then Candiace is like, what, you're gonna drag me? You're gonna drag me. And that's when I said, Monique starts saying, you want me to, and she starts flicking her hair, which I just felt like, okay, she's physically touching her now. She's like touching her hair. She's like, you want me to? And then Candiace keeps saying like, drag me or whatever. And the way it clips, I feel like Candiace was trying to grab her hair or something, because it's like at this point Monique is flicking her hair, so it looks like Candiace is like she was trying to flick her hair or something, because it's like, you're touching me, you're in my inner personal space. And before she can even do that, Monique drags her. Which is not funny, because I just lost my place in the notes. I'm like, what happens after the hair flick? Oh yeah, Monique drags her. That's what happens. Literally and figuratively. And it's just crazy, because it's like, who would have known it was foreshadowed in my part 1. I talk about when, and it's crazy because production places back in the next episode is a continuation of when they initially met, and how Monique's like, you know what, I like this Candiace girl, but she does all talking with a lot of this, and you might have to hit her with that, and you know, you might pop her or something, you might have to hit her back or something. And it's like, you really foreshadowed how y'all's relationship would have went. So that's when the fight really breaks out. Monique is in this rage. She cannot see. Wine gets tossed on her, and you know, she at this point has a handful of Candiace's wig, and she is bashing her head, like just punching it over and over again across the table. Production steps in. The ladies are like, Monique, let her go. And at this point, Candiace is trying to do anything to protect herself. Her glass somehow is now broken, and she is able to chuck it at Monique or something. Glass hits Monique's lip. Monique is bleeding. And yeah, Candiace still has like a glass in her hand, but it seemed like she was able to like break it and like throw something. Like I said, Monique is in a rage. She's not letting go. Production is telling her to stop. They eventually get her to stop, and then they walk her out. It is a full mess. And now we have Candiace yelling, that is a ghetto AB. I don't know, I could have said it. And then she said HUD ass B, like all of this stuff. Monique goes around the building, and she's trying to get back into that barn as the production is escorting Candiace out, and she's trying to run in there. She said, I'm gonna kill that bee. You know, when you get into a fight, your adrenaline is up, and all you want to do is get into that ass. So she literally is just in a blind rage, and I understand. Like, I'm gonna talk about that, but I'm just saying I understand. She was very angry, and she just wanted to get to Candiace. Like, she just wanted to get to Candiace regardless. Essentially, let's break down the fight. We are winding down. So essentially, after the fight, I would say the ladies really rallied around Candiace. They were not looking forward to seeing Monique. They really rallied around Candiace, except for Ashley, who was not there for the fight. And I would say Karen tries to play middleman a lot, but it does give like she's favoring Monique's side, which is shocking. This caused a huge social media difference of opinions. A lot of people were saying, you know, Candiace deserved what she got. A lot of people compare it to the Kenya Moore versus the Portia Williams. And let's compare it really quick. Let's take a break from these notes that I dug deep into. Let's compare it really quick. So what we have is, I think, season 7. I think it's season 6 reunion or season 7. It may be season 7 of Atlanta. We get the infamous fight between Portia and Kenya. What I will say is different in the fights is that Kenya was clearly physically provoking Portia. She had a blowhorn, and she had like a princess wand. She pointed in Portia's direction. Portia snatched that, threw it on the floor, and then she had the blowhorn, and she called her a dumb hoe. And that was Portia's last straw. But Kenya was using props that whole reunion in Portia's face, and they were sitting on the same couch. And if you have that constantly in your face, even though Cynthia and her lovely breasts were exposed, even though Cynthia was supposed to be the shield in between them, you have someone constantly in your face with props provoking you. I say what happened to Kenya Moore was 100% warranted, because you can't be doing that. What I will say, I don't think what happened to Candiace was warranted. I think it was a lot of outside chatter that got in between. I think Monique was really frustrated of what was happening at home and all the rumors going on about the trainer. And then I also think Gizelle and Ashley 110% provoked that fight. Gizelle knew Monique and Candiace were not in a good spot. And she's like, what's going on with you two? Being nosy. And Ashley was also to blame too with all these back and forths with the whole Charisse thing. But when you look at it on a huger scale, it was a lot of outside chatter. They weren't arguing directly. It was from other instances. You're upset that, you know, I am pulling Ashley and Gizelle to the side to have a conversation about Ashley and her husband that was seen in a strip club. You're upset that Charisse at a party and I had no clue, given the state of y'all's relationship, which we'll get more into with the reunion. Like, did Candiace know? Did she not know? But it was a lot of outside chatter. And I just think Monique was really upset with the people talking about the rumors. Candiace was never talking about the rumors, and she should have took it out on those people. Also, like I said, clearly things were not 110 at home. I saw her and Chris like bickering a lot. It was very like dictatorship, and it seemed like she was exhausted. And then also the podcast stuff. Like, I don't think we can fairly compare Kenya Moore and Portia's situation to Candiace and Monique, because at the end of the day, like, yeah, words are words, but I say Kenya had literal props in Portia's face. You felt threatened, and this is why I never believed Monique. You felt threatened by little old Candiace. Y'all across the table, and she's saying, you're gonna drag me. You're flicking my hair. You're fighting with me just as much. You're just upset my words are cutting. And I don't even think she said anything besides you gonna drag me, referencing season 4 when you said you was gonna drag her pregnant and all. I don't think what happened to Candiace was warranted at all. Does she have a slick mouth? Yes. However, if you have a slick mouth, you are going to have to know physically how to defend yourself, because there are going to be people in this world that don't know what to do with that. So they resort to violence. If you have a slick mouth, I would hope you know how to fight. But just because you have a slick mouth does not mean you should be expected to be attacked. That's my true, honest opinion. So let's get back into the husband's reactions. So the Chris's reactions are very different. Candiace's Chris is very supportive. He's like, get your butt home, because she calls him on the ride home. Whereas Chris Samuels is like embarrassed. He's a retired NFL player. He like, you don't need to be beating up nobody. Like, what is going on? He is honestly disgusted. He said this is not a good image. Like, she calls him obviously in a rage, because she was still upset, and he's just like, this is not a good look. Like, he is disgusted with her. I would have loved to have been a fly on the wall at that home, because he was not here for it. Let's talk about the aftermath. Then we're gonna get kind of into Monique's sit down with the ladies, and we're gonna get into the reunion. So Karen, like I said, she does a good job at remaining neutral, though I do think she favored Monique. And like I said, Ashley sided with Monique, because she was even saying like Candiace's mouth is so slick, whatever, like she can't be talking to people all types of ways. So the other, like I said, the other ladies really rally around Candiace, and it's mostly because they believe Monique really escalated that situation, and Monique has like no remorse. Candiace is very shocked. So we're getting their initial reactions after the fight. Candiace is very shocked by what Monique did, and she just feels like Monique has taken no accountability. Monique has not at this point. Candiace is still very shocked. Candiace is very like, I cannot believe that happened. Like, how did we get here? Whereas Monique is like, I don't feel bad. It was more so she told Chris it was bound to happen. She said if it wasn't me beating up Candiace, it was going to be someone else beating her up. She has no remorse. So you get very opposite spectrums. You got this girl that's like literally traumatized, and you got this girl that's like, it was going to happen regardless. Well, I feel like you not threatened by someone like Candiace. You was not threatened by somebody like Candiace who weighs like literally 90 pounds. You're not. Monique also admits that she like blacks out and doesn't remember how anything happened, because at this point she's trying to save face, in my opinion. She's putting together pieces of a story. The events did not happen that way. So she calls up Karen. She's like, I want to have a Ponderosa with the girls. Obviously Candiace is not invited. And during this Ponderosa, Candiace decides to have a therapy session, and she's talking about like the whole Monique of it all of that stuff. And Candiace believes she didn't do anything to warrant a physical attack. But she said, have there been things I've done in the past? Yes. So we still see Candiace, I would say, taking more responsibility. But she said, I've apologized to this girl 4 times. And I agree. She's apologized to her at the dinner for Ashley to get her out the house. She apologized to her at Ashley's Sip and See. And then she apologized to her like 2-3 times at Monique's lake house thing. Like, she's apologized, and she's apologized off camera for how she's made her feel. And she apologized at the reunion and stuff. Like, it's just like, how many times do I have to apologize to this girl? And you're literally provoking me at this point. I do think Monique was like egging her on at this point and was constantly looking for something to say. Like, she just couldn't let it go. And it's annoying. So let's get into this sit down. So the ladies bring up Monique's tweet, which essentially shows no more, like, she has no remorse. And it said, asking you shall receive. They also believe Monique's camp is responsible for leaking the physical fight, because they said like 2-3 days later after the fight, there was a bunch of blogs being reported in support of Monique. And it was a very one-sided story. And they said, like, clearly somebody Yuto is telling the blogs, and now you've leaked it to somebody. And she's like, no, I didn't. But it was giving like, you leaked it to somebody. So Wendy, Gizelle, and Robin, which I don't like what they do. They make it a very like, now this feeds into our angry Black woman stereotype, when I'm just like, it really don't. Like, I understand what you mean. Like, Potomac, you hold each other in a higher value. But the DMV, they is fighting. That is like let's not act like it. Now, we haven't seen it on Real Housewives of Potomac. And yes, this woman has defamed your show. Now you thinking it's like a Love and Hip Hop. But it really wasn't. Like, I don't like when they try to make it this whole angry Black woman thing. And it's so crazy to see, because Wendy uses her political commentating and how people are like constantly calling her the N-word and like all of this stuff, like calling her out of her name, like, and how she still has to remain calm and like use her words and stuff. And then she also, Monique at one point says, I'm gonna talk to my pastor. What was I saying? Yeah, it's just very interesting to see Wendy kind of use this whole angry Black woman trope. And, you know, Monique then at one point is like, I'm going to talk about it with my pastor. And this is another thing I like to talk about, is how like a lot of Christian people use Christianity and religion as an excuse of their behavior. And it's so interesting because, losing my voice, Wendy is like, well, praying ain't gonna make everything better. And just to relate it to current times and how much that's come to bite Wendy in the butt, Wendy has now spoken out ever since these serious allegations, the insurance fraud scam, and the alleged of all of that. And her first Instagram post had something to do with God and like reading a verse and how like he will protect me, all this stuff. When it's like, I thought you told Monique a couple seasons ago, even some things you can't pray away. Like, some things are there. They're just there and you're gonna have to deal with them. So I just thought it was like a fun comparison. Well, it's a very interesting comparison to make, because here you guys go. They were very much hazing Monique. They're all a part of sororities. Dr. Wendy is, Gizelle is, Robin is. They were very much, when Monique was there, they were hazing her. They were like, you were an embarrassing to Black women. I cannot believe you would do this. You totally ruined our stereotypes. You totally ruined our show. Like, you are an embarrassment, in my Bethany Frankel voice. When John and Dorinda show up lit. But like, they were very much hazing her. It was very much like Mean Girls, like, oh my gosh, we don't want anything to do with you. This is so disgusting. Like, how could you? Like, oh my gosh. I'm like, whatever. It wasn't, I just felt like they were nailing her to the cross. And I will say Monique owns her actions and apologizes multiple times during this sit down. Gizelle, however, has a really good point. She recounts all of the times Monique has shown that she has a violent history. And she goes back to the first season she met Monique, and in the confessional, Monique was like, Gizelle might get her head punched in. And then the second time was when her and Robin got into that physical altercation with the umbrella. The third time, she was like, you said you were going to drag Candiace. And then she said, then you finally did drag her. And I just could not, but I literally laughed because it was funny, because it's like, I mean, you actually did what you said you were going to do. So it was funny. She said, and she said, and this season you finally did drag her. And it's like, you did drag her. Not funny. Candiace did not deserve that, but it was a funny. These are instances. So they are saying this is the difference between Monique and Candiace. It's like Monique has shown multiple times that she's about it and that she is about that physical, violent life. And that's why they don't believe what she's saying. And then also Monique at this point is saying she does not have any remorse. And she's looking Wendy in the eye and saying that because she's like, at this point, I don't have remorse because I was so heated. And they are using that as the good all swear all of like, you're a terrible person, you feel no remorse. I understand what Monique's saying. I have this much adrenaline. My lip is now cut. I'm in this fight. I'm just trying to get to this girl and fight. And they're using that as like, you're not, I cannot believe you would say that. You have no remorse. At the point she was healing and taking things, you're right. She had no remorse. Like, it's not that hard to believe. I'm going to be honest with you. You want me to just lie and sit here? And at the end of the day, she did own up to her actions. She said that is not a representation of who she is as a person. And it's like, that's still not good enough for them. They were still on this mean girl trope. Like, this is disgusting. You're like, you're axed out of our group. Like, we never want to see you again. When it's like, people make mistakes. You know what I mean? So to use this as the one time when she actually did get physical, but it's like you and Robin, like, I don't know, like her and Robin were engaging in that umbrella fight. Like Robin was as much too, and I would also say provoking her because she had the umbrella in her face. It's just, I honestly think she owned up to it. I think she was honest, and I think she did as much as she could do during that conversation in that talk with the ladies, the sit down. So then the end all be all, Monique, so Ashley has Dean there because she can't find a babysitter. And Monique's like, Ashley, can I like see Dean? Because he's trying to go to sleep, like he's crying, he's fussy. And I think she just like, at this point, Gizelle leaves. Keep in mind, Gizelle showed up with a freaking bodyguard because Giselle's just extra. Monique then grabs Ashley baby and she's like trying to rock him, and it's just so hilarious because Robin points out, she's like, this is the most DC shit she's ever seen. And she's like, she just put her best politician on, because you know the politicians, they kissing the babies, they holding the babies and all of this stuff. And then it's like you're a politician, like you're the most corrupt in the room as you're holding a baby. But honestly, like I said, the rest of the season, Monique's very much ostracized from the group. She is not invited to events, and she did tell them that, like, hey, if you have an event, you have to decide between me or Candiace. Invite Candiace because I don't want to put y'all in that situation. I don't think I should probably be a part of this group. She was trying to figure that out. She was going to therapy, seeing her pastor, all of this stuff. We also see Candiace kind of get a big head, you know, very much lean into that victimhood. I mean, she is a victim of physical abuse, but she wants Karen to turn on Monique, and she's disappointed when she doesn't. But I will say Karen is the one that recommended to Candiace, if this happened to Karen, she's like, I would press charges, which leads to Candiace pressing charges, which Monique was shocked to find out. So Candiace did end up pressing charges against Monique for second-degree assault. Monique filed a counter complaint, so both charges essentially were dropped, and a judge reviewed the show's footage. They're reviewing the footage, the social media, and everything, so that's why they both canceled each other out. Like I said, Candiace is really much on a high horse, and really riveting in the fact that majority of the group is rallying around her. At this point, her and Ashley are also on better terms, which is why it was such a shock that Ashley decided to write a statement in support of Monique's character. And a lot of viewers and a lot of the cast saw it as like a get back at Candiace. Is like, y'all are finally on good terms, and now you're using this point to kind of diminish her character. And now, but she didn't diminish Candiace's character, but it's just like, you weren't even there for the fight. So it's like, if anything, you should just stay out of it. And Gizelle had made a point at the reunion saying how, like, because they were there, they didn't want, you know, Monique to go to prison or anything. They were like, maybe community service. They were like, maybe they should have pressed charges, but they weren't expecting her to go to jail. And I think the biggest thing is like, Ashley, you weren't even there to see the fight. And it's like, why are you involving yourself? And Monique was like, I don't know. 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 they just thought none of the ladies should have gotten involved. But the fans, yeah, they were really divided. You know, my take is that I don't think Candiace deserved that at all. I understand both sides. I understand Monique being blacked out and just wanting to get to her, but I don't think what was happening at the moment at the winery, Candiace deserved to be dragged. I think Monique was really upset about I think the last thing that really got to her was the cancellation of the pod, her appearance on there. And I think she was like, oh my gosh, like she already wasn't selling tickets. She only had sold like 30 out of 200 apparently. So she was really stressed. And I think then getting that is just kind of like, great, now what? But I will remain to this day, Candiace did not deserve to be dragged across that table and have her head beat in like no tomorrow. And I maintain that. But I also didn't agree with how the group really ostracized and really just left Monique out, even though she said, like, if you have to choose Candiace. I didn't agree with the whole sit down and how they really tried to paint Monique as this physically violent person at all. Okay, let's get to this reunion and let's wrap it up in a nice bow, as I promised. So, like I said, Monique was really trying to rewrite history, I thought, at the reunion. She was claiming that what triggered her was Candiace reaching under her chin, which did not happen. Even Andy said that. And Monique's really like, well, we can pretend that didn't happen. Also, let's not forget the sit down. The ladies had to tell Monique what happened. Like, you were the one that escalated it and was trying to physically get it started first. Because when you start touching her hair, like, that's just not right? Candiace never reached under her chin. She probably tried to once you started touching her hair, or like, but she says what really triggers her, and she realized that now, is that I guess like something with childhood trauma and like how her dad used to silence her or whatever and like point at her, and so she doesn't like people's hands in her face. But I'm like, your hand was in her face as well. But it's also revealed that Monique thought Candiace had pushed her, and that's really what set her. And what we can see is it was actually Gizelle's hand that pushed her. She was like, and then Andy's like, well, Gizelle, why did you do that? She was like, I was trying to get her to stop, of course. Like, she did not expect it to escalate like that. So she was actually trying to get her to stop. That was her hand, but Monique was already on one, so she thought she had pushed her, because she whispers that to Ashley. Monique's very unemotional. This is a year later. Keep in mind, COVID's happened. This is after all the charges and stuff. The charges were dropped by the reunion. This is a whole year later that she's seeing Candiace since everything's happened, because they've literally succeeded in avoiding each other the rest of the season. Like, they didn't see each other. So like I said, Monique's very unemotional, and Candiace is very shocked at the lack of emotion, but also Candiace is very emotional because Candiace hasn't seen the footage. She doesn't like to look at the footage because she says she don't like to see herself in that way. Like, it's very traumatizing for her. And she just is very disappointed of how the narrative has played out online. It's really played out like Candiace deserved it. You know what? Your mouth is so slick. Like, this is what you get. And she thinks that Monique should have like stood up for her at this time. Also, Monique does issue her an apology, and the biggest issue Candiace has with that apology is all the social media stuff, because I guess Monique had dropped a song, because she's a recording artist, and it was called Drag Queens, and the lyrics are literally like, all that stuff, and she was really much like internet gangster, like, this is what happens. She didn't really have any sympathy the past year, so she finds it hard to believe we're at the reunion and all of a sudden you have this sympathy for me. Like, it's not giving. Which is honestly valid. And then, like I said, Candiace also took accountability for her mouth. She said, I know my mouth can be very cutting. I'm a wordsmith. I love that word. She took accountability. Monique apologized. They have still not hung out. There has been no meeting after this. Obviously, we know Monique leaves the show. She did not get the boot. She leaves the show because the damaging rumors about her relationship with Chris really started to affect them as a family and a unit. Chris did not want her returning back to the show. She did not want to return back to the show after everything. So that was Monique's last time. Obviously, we know Candiace is no longer on because things have gotten so toxic in that environment, between her, Gizelle, and Robin. Robin's no longer on the show. It's a completely different new cast, but that is one of the most controversial fights ever in reality TV. A lot of people team Monique, a lot of people team Candiace. I was team both of them. I think emotions were running high, but I will continue to say it to this day. No, Candiace did not deserve to get dragged at all. It was not warranted, and it sucks because they really had a good short-lived friendship. It was probably one of the shortest that turned the worst. They had a really good friendship, or like basis, and I think it would have been nice to see them kind of team up against Gizelle, Robin, and them, and Ashley, versus throwing each other under the bus. I think it's really unfortunate what happened. Obviously, this was like 10 years ago. Well, it was in 2020. It was like 5 years ago. Everyone has moved on to it, but now we are going to see Monique back on Real Housewives of Potomac, and that's why I wanted to do this breakdown, because people are like, well, why did she go away? Or like, there's so many new Potomac watchers, and I do recap Potomac, and I thought it was so fitting to do this breakdown now, because she is going to be back on Potomac within the next couple episodes. So yes, that is for What's the Reality on Candiace and Monique's friendship fallout on What the Reality. I hope you enjoyed listening. Make sure you guys give this a thumbs up. Let me know what else you want to see. And yes, I can't wait to do my next deep dive. We love a good deep dive. Next one won't probably be for another 2 weeks because I have to figure out what I want to do. And yeah, do I want to stick in Bravo or do I want to divvy somewhere else? I don't know. We're gonna see. There's always, I'll tell you what, that's why I love doing the pod, because there's no shortage of scandal when it comes to Housewives or Bravo Lebs. There's always something to deep dive into. And yes, I think Reddit a lot because I get a lot of my ideas from Reddit. But let me know on TikTok. Let me know in the comments what I should deep dive into next, because I have no clue what I'm going to do next. Like, I always have some idea. I have a long list. I got to look at it, but I don't know what I'm going to do next. But thank you so much for listening. Until the next time, I'll see you guys for Toxic Tuesday. Bye.